John Alzheimer is known as one of our nation's most recognized credit experts. Having worked for 28 years in the credit industry, John has become one of the most prolific speakers about credit and the go-to authority on answers to credit-related questions. Credit Countdown with John Alzheimer.
Hey there, this is credit expert John Alzheimer. I'm a consumer credit expert. I've got almost 30 years of experience in the credit industry. Spent time at FICO, the company behind the FICO credit scoring system, and Equifax, which is one of the 3 generally recognized credit reporting agencies in the US. So my question that I'm going to answer today is there a way to build credit or rebuild credit without taking on debt? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can rebuild your credit reports, you can rebuild your credit scores without taking on a penny of debt. So how do you do it? All right, great question. There are a variety of ways. I'm going to talk about 3 of them today. So number 1 is secured credit cards. But by the way, these are not in any order of importance to me. So I'm just throwing these out there and you can rank them however you see fit. So number 1 is secured credit cards. So secured credit card is essentially what I call it's not a prepaid card, that's different, but a secured credit card involves you making a deposit with a bank and then the bank issuing a credit card to you with a credit limit that's equal to or very close to the amount that you put down as security. Most secured credit cards have a very low credit limit because people aren't going to put $10,000, $15,000 down with a bank just to get a secured credit card with that kind of a credit limit. So it's not uncommon to see secured credit cards have a credit limit of a few $100s. That's fine. You just have to be careful when you use it not to max it out too much or too often. That's not good for your credit score. So secured credit cards are inexpensive because you can make the small deposit. You get the money back. It's not like you're giving the money away. And they serve the purpose of getting something positive on your credit reports. Just make sure you choose a card that does report to all 3 of the credit bureaus. So how do you know? Well, the way you know is you ask them, or when you're doing your online research, you only choose a card that does report to all 3 of the credit bureaus. Because otherwise it's like the tree falling in the woods, nobody heard it. The second way that I like is to become an authorized user on someone else's credit card. This is what I call getting a credit card with training wheels. Essentially, you're added to an account that belongs to another person and you're quote unquote authorized to use the account, but you don't have any liability for the debt. And authorized users are commonly reported to the 3 credit reporting agencies. So as long as the primary card issuer is managing the account properly, making the payments on time, not getting into too much debt, things like that, then that's going to look really good on your credit report. And despite what you may hear or read, credit scoring systems do in fact consider authorized user accounts. And cosmetically, they are on your credit report, so lenders can see them. So that's another way to rebuild credit. The last way, I guess this would be the least of the favorite of the 3, retail store credit cards. Retail store credit cards are basically subprime credit cards. They have extremely low credit limits, and the interest rates or the APRs are almost always well into the 20-something% range. And so if I told you about a credit card that had a $1,000 credit limit and a 24% APR, you'd be like, yeah, that's a subprime credit card. Well, that's a pretty common retail store credit card. So, and unfortunately, those types of terms are usually given to people who have even really good credit. So it's almost like one size fits all with retail store credit cards. So because they have subprime terms, they're usually pretty easy to get, even if you have poor credit. So pick one that is going to report to all 3 of the credit bureaus. Again, that is a common requirement when you're rebuilding your credit, is you've got to choose methods that report to all 3 of the credit bureaus. Otherwise, you're simply wasting your time, and it's not going to accelerate any sort of credit building or any sort of credit rebuilding efforts on your part. Once you do open these accounts or get these accounts in your name, again, incurring debt on them is entirely optional. So this is whole issue of, do you have to get into debt to build credit? Well, you can have a credit card and never ever use it. You're not in debt. You can become an authorized user on someone else's credit card. You have no liability for the debt, so you're not in debt. So again, there's tons of ways to rebuild credit without getting into any amount of debt. That doesn't mean you can't use the cards, but if you're going to use the cards, use them for things that you were going to purchase anyways. Like if you have a retail store card, if you're going to go out and buy socks, if you're going to go buy a shirt, well, then use the card to do it and then just pay it off as soon as the bill comes, and you're not really in debt. So those are just some methods that I would suggest that you try to help to rebuild or build your credit, and you don't need to get into debt with any of them. So I appreciate you watching. If you have any comments, drop them in the comment section below, and I'll get to them. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again soon.
For more videos and credit tips from John Olsheimer, go to www.tradelinesupply.com.